For this entire month, we're having our Community Impact Series. And this week, I want to highlight one of the greatest community impact organizations around, none other than the Norfolk State University. It's graduation. We have so many students that are leaving this great institution, going out to make a difference in the world. And Norfolk State gave them their start. Today we have with us in studio the former SGA president and current co-chair of the Student Advisory Committee for SCHEV. This is Stay in the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric LaVille. We'll be right back in just a moment. Welcome back. It's Stay in the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric LaVille. We want to thank you for joining us, as you always do, on this beautiful Sunday here as we broadcast from the campus of the Norfolk State University here in the great city of Norfolk in Hampton Roads, Virginia. Also, in studio, we have with us, who keeps us right and tight all the time, on the wheels of steel, our producer, Marvin Folks, also known as DJ Scandalous, which you can hear every day on the station from 2 to 6 p.m., also on Saturday. And yes, he's the hardest working man in radio because he is here with us on Sunday as well. You know, I'm very excited to do this series, on this particular show. Those of you that listen to us, we have various series that we do, and we're able to bring cutting-edge movers and shakers or policymakers to discuss issues important to the community. That's right, we bring it right to you. And this is one of my favorite series that I like to do. It's called the Community Impact Series. And the Community Impact Series, what I like to do is bring individuals and organizations that are making an impact in the community. That's right, from the ground up. And of course, if you're listening, as you listen to the show, you know that we have individuals from nonprofit organizations, corporations, and individuals and citizens that are in the community. Today what I wanted to do, I wanted to highlight our institution, one of the greatest institutions in the country, really in the world. And that's none other than the Norfolk State University. We're coming off of graduation, and on yesterday, we had over 600 graduates receive their degrees. And when we say receive their degrees, they received a degree which signified the completion of 4+ years of their lives that they dedicated to learning their information about areas in their career that they want to go into. And not only that, but it also signifies a growing up. It signifies a leap in from their maturity from some, I call them kids, but for some young adults now that came in as children at 17, 18 years old, now they're leaving as 21, 22-year-old adults, others that are graduate students, and others who are what we call non-traditional students. And I don't think there really is a term of non-traditional anymore, but people who have families and people who have careers that want to come back and become specialized in a certain area. But to see those individuals walk across the stage, what I call the future leaders of our world, it's truly a remarkable moment every single time I see it. And I'm fortunate to be a part of it. We're fortunate to have great leadership at our institution with our board of visitors, of course, led by our president, Dr. Yvonne Allmond, which we refer to affectionately as Dr. J, and the entire cabinet, faculty, staff, administrators, and of course, the parents, the supporters. It was great to see that. And listen, I don't think there is any other great gift that a child can give to their mothers around this season of Mother's Day than to see that degree, that diploma that's hanging across the wall. So I wanted to bring in someone, and I can give all the statistics about Norfolk State, the great institution that it is. I can talk about the great things that we're doing here, all of the great developments, the increase in giving, I can talk about the capital program that we have. I can talk about all of that. But what I really wanted to do this time is bring in someone who I believe is one of the great products of our institution to really talk about how this institution has really poured into their lives and developed them. And I have none other but in studio with me right now than a phenomenal young man that I've had the pleasure of knowing for the last several years. none other but our former SGA Student Government Association president and current co-chair of the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia, also known as SHEV, none other than Mr. Jalen Drury. Jalen, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing great. Listen, I know you're fresh off graduation, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment, but I want to talk about first. Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about that now.
Yeah.
You know, how was it walking across that stage to receive that degree that says, hey, I did it?
You know, it still hasn't hit me yet. It is truly a blessing to have had the opportunity to attend this institution for 4 years. It's truly changed my life and the lives of the folks around me, my friends and my family members. But I know most importantly, I made my family proud. Yeah. And so to see their smiles on their faces at graduation, it was truly an amazing feeling. Absolutely.
You know, you say 4 years. It seemed like, you know, you've been here. You seem like you've been here longer, but at the same time, it seemed like it went so fast.
Absolutely.
You know, how were those, you know, as a freshman? Yeah. You know, when you first stepped on campus, what was your first feeling?
I was nervous. I think like most college students, I was nervous. I was filled with excitement. I didn't know what the possibilities were, the things I could do. But I was ready. I was excited. Yeah. We didn't know what was ahead of us. You know, came in fall of 2019, and that spring semester, a global pandemic started.
That's right.
And so it was truly an eye-opening thing for the students, but also for this institution during that time. You
know, you mentioned fall 2019. It seems like, you know, like I said, I've known you, fortunate enough to know you and many other student leaders and students since I've been here. But we actually came in the same time.
Yes.
You know, so it's like, you know, you're like the first cohort.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
You know, that I saw as a freshman.
Yes.
And now you are a graduate.
Yes.
You know, you were a student, but now you're an official alum.
Absolutely.
You know, in coming into the institution, you say you were nervous and then the global pandemic. Tell me about how that pandemic really impacted, you know, your development as a student.
It changed the way that I had to imagine learning. Going from being in the classroom to having to learn virtually through a video conference or through discussion boards, things that we weren't as a society, we wasn't used to. And as an institution, we weren't used to. I certainly had not been accustomed to that. But we had to adjust. In order for us to get to this point, we had to adjust.
You know, adjustment is a part of life.
Yes.
Right? And you mentioned adjusting, but not only students had to adjust.
Yeah.
But professors had to
Absolutely.
adjust. You know, we as an institution had to adjust to deliver the high quality of education that, you know, we're accustomed giving. And that you know, as a student, which I always call our greatest asset.
Yes.
Right? All of us exist. The facilities, the faculty, the administrators,
yes.
You know, the food service.
Absolutely.
You know, everything exists because of one important part.
Yes.
The students.
Yes. That is true. That is absolutely true. And I say this all the time is that everything that we do at the institution at Norfolk State University is a universal effort, right? It's part of an institutionalized effort to make sure that these students graduate, right? That's what they come here for, education, but they also come to be made whole. It's a part of the whole experience. It's the student's life on campus, campus life. And so the facilities folks, the folks in dining hall, the folks who work in housing and student activities, student affairs, academic affairs, all these government affairs, all of these folks work together to make the students' experience at Norfolk State University whole by the time they walk across that stage and graduate, so that they're complete not just on the academic side, but in the personal development side of things. And the pandemic served in a significant part of that and played a major role in that. I'd say all the time is that we, as students, as also faculty members, staff, professors, and administrations, we had to adjust. But I say we were like trees, right? We were rooted in what this institution is about, right? But we had to bend with the wind. Leaves may fall off, branches may fall off, but we had to bend with the wind in order to adjust and in order to grow.
Right. You mentioned what this institution is about.
Yes.
It has a rich history.
Absolutely.
Right? I've always felt that Norfolk State University, and I like to call it the Norfolk State University, really has the greatest potential in all the institutions really in the Commonwealth.
Yes.
The reason why I say that is because how the mission in which it was founded. This institution was founded in 1935.
Yeah.
1935, there was something happening in this country that affected the entire country and the world.
Yeah.
It's called the Great Depression. But still, even in the Great Depression, it was a great institution birthed out of that.
Absolutely.
And with that great institution, it built, so that's the foundation.
Yeah.
And the foundation, we started to build break after break, layer after layer, building on top of that in order to create what we call the Tower of Learning, where we see the future in you.
Absolutely.
By seeing the future in you, tell me, what is it about Norfolk State that you feel poured into you to help propel you into now what is currently your future?
Absolutely. As I mentioned before, this holistic approach at enriching the student's experience from the academic standpoint, from the student affairs standpoint, that is the most important thing that I will never forget from being at Norfolk State University. Coming here, and my grandmother is an alum of Norfolk State University, and so you hear that it's a family environment, and I have felt nothing but that while I was at Norfolk State University. Yeah.
When you say the holistic approach, what if you could pick out one thing?
Yes.
And of course, this is hard.
Yes.
But
it is.
if you pick out one aspect of the institution that says that this left an indelible impression upon you, and this is what I'm gonna take with me when I'm going through those tough times.
Yes.
Right. When I'm going through those challenging moments, when I'm building my career, what is that one thing that you can say that you'll take from here?
The true culture of care.
Wow.
The culture of care at the institution, from top to bottom, no matter if it's a faculty member, staff member, administration, from Dr. J on down to the folks who work in academic affairs and student affairs. The true culture of care has shaped me into the leader that I am today, and being now an alum of Norfolk State University, going into the workforce and wherever I am, it's truly has shaped me into being a transformational leader.
Wow. When you say culture of care, I remember when that initiative started. Dr. J started that initiative, and it was something that was really near and dear to her.
Yes.
Of course, coming out of student affairs at the Ohio State University, University of Maryland, and so forth, and then here, I think it was something that was missing. Of course, you've had aspects of it,
right?
But to really conceptualize it, bring it together, formalize, an official initiative, I think has made the difference. In a lot of students' experience, where they feel like this is not just home, but this is the place that helped to rear me, helped to raise me, and helped to raise my level of understanding where I am and what I can be in the world. Absolutely.
The Culture of Care initiative, and I remember it was started in the middle of the pandemic, and it truly was the beginning of this institutionalized effort to ensure that students had the care that they needed from the academic standpoint, from the student affairs standpoint, the professional development standpoint, but also the wellness standpoint. We're in the middle of a global pandemic where HBCU students and Black and brown people were experiencing mental health issues at a higher rate than anybody else.
That's right.
And so it was really important to Dr. J and to the institution to make sure that those efforts were seen, right? That those things that were being done at the administrative level were being seen by students. And I can say this today, that the students definitely appreciated the level of care that was taken during the pandemic.
Absolutely. This is Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Lavelle. Today we have in studio with us one of Norfolk State University's best and brightest, former Student Government Association president and current co-chair of the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia, also known as SCHEV, for the Student Council, Jalen Drury. We're talking about, during our Community Impact Series, the power and the impact of the Norfolk State University. And one thing that I admired about your career here at the institution is that you looked at the possibilities and you took them head on.
Yeah.
I want to talk about first your time as SGA president, and then now your time as co-chair of the student panel council for Chev, and then your future. As a sophomore, what made you think that you could be Student Government Association president?
You know, I had seen, I will say this, Vice President Kamala Harris said it best 2 years ago, that HBCUs shape leaders into transformational leaders, folks who didn't know they could be leaders into leaders. And coming out of my freshman year, where we were home because of the pandemic, and we got back to campus my sophomore year, spring of my sophomore year, and I felt that I had a sense of empowerment. And it was because of my university that had lit a flame under me to get up and say, hey, I can lead the student body. I can be the voice for the student body. I can advocate. It was some leaders that I admired. And of course, there were folks like Vice President Kamala Harris and politicians. But directly here on campus, Dr. J is a transformational leader across the board. Former SGA President Jeremiah O'Brien, Lene Wilson, former SGA president, those two leaders definitely empowered me to be able to lead in the way that Jeremiah led during the start of the pandemic as well. Right. And Lene as well. She was SGA president at the start of the pandemic. And so I felt a sense of empowerment. And it didn't matter, my age or what my classification was. I knew that I could serve in a capacity and be the voice for the students in a way that others didn't see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's amazing that you mentioned those past years because, again, as I mentioned, as an institution built on that foundation, just our leaders built on that foundation. We're standing on their shoulders.
Yes.
And it's amazing, and I think it's great that you are acknowledging
Absolutely.
those individuals because those individuals that I knew as
Yeah.
well, as students, and it's great to see their transformation in their careers, where it's taking them.
Absolutely.
Not only a Student Government Association president, but you didn't stop there.
Yes.
Usually people say, okay, I did it. I've been to the mountaintop. I'm done. But you actually went a little further.
Yes.
As co-chair.
Yes.
Currently as a student for the State Council for Higher Education for Virginia. Tell us about, that experience, because, I attend those meetings and I attend the board meetings and you represented very well there. And, again, I want to tell you here, how you represent, the university and the students of Virginia at Chev is commendable. But
thank you.
Tell me about that experience.
Absolutely. Well, I will start by saying this. As you mentioned, I ran for SGA president as a sophomore, and my junior year I served in capacity as SGA president, and I decided that my senior year I wasn't going to run for a second term. But I said, okay, how can I advocate for students and higher education and HBCU specifically at a higher level that hasn't been seen before, at least here on our campus, right? And so I said, well, Chev is the place to go. That is where you can be the voice for not just Norfolk State, but all students in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so I've spent the last year advocating on the key issues that students face at HBCUs, but all institutions here in Virginia: access and affordability for education, mental health services, which is the key and cornerstone issue, but also diversity, equity, and inclusion across our institutions. And so all of those issues... Which
is not dead, by the way.
Yeah.
It's still alive.
Yes, it is.
Even though some people want to kill it.
Absolutely. And it is one thing to have our administration there in those rooms, but to have students in those rooms to be the voice to other students is truly important. And I can tell that it has been well received across at Chev, at the state level, and at many of our institutions in the state.
Absolutely. And not just as Student Government Association president, also representing students of the state level, but also you want to leave a legacy here of student engagement, civic engagement. Tell us a little bit about that initiative.
Absolutely. I mean, Norfolk State since its start, being founded in the middle of the Great Depression, has been at the forefront of movements since its beginning, right? And so to continue that on now is really important to me. It's important to me that our students are civically engaged, are involved in the voting process and in elections and things like that. And so it is my belief that, students should have access to the polls right there at their college campuses and at not just here in Norfolk State, but across the state. Students play a major role in the institution's being, in staying afloat and the doors staying, the lights staying on, right? And so I believe that the students should have access to voting and polling precincts on their college campuses.
So to effectuate that,
yes.
What steps have you taken to ensure that there is voting?
Yes.
Which is, of course,
yeah.
It's not a new concept, but it's one that's coming back.
Absolutely. Right? From the start, as SGA president, I started those conversations with administration at the university, but also leaving office at the State Council of Higher Education. They all agreed that should happen. Students have access to the polls. I had conversations with folks at the citywide level here in the city of Norfolk, and they're in agreement, folks on the city council and also at the elections commission as well. And so those conversations have been held, and I'm excited about where things are going to go, and I'm hopeful that things are looking good, that we can make that happen here at Norfolk State.
Absolutely. Your vote does matter.
Absolutely.
And if you don't believe it matters, just take a look, just in 2016.
Absolutely. Yeah.
On that level. And then, of course, one great thing about our state, our Commonwealth, is that we have an important election every year.
Every year. Yes.
And, of course, individuals may get fatigued a little, but, again, your vote matters because policies matter.
Yes.
Funding matters to our institutions, programs matter to our communities. All of that matters, and it really impacts. It starts with your vote.
Yes.
And then not just your vote, but then it continues on. Tell us a little bit about how you've gotten the students involved during your time here, and not just voting, but then after the vote, more engagement.
I think you have to show students what's at stake. And I've made it a point as student body president and as National Panhellenic Council president and chapter president of the Delta Zeta Chapter Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated to make sure that we're letting students know what is at stake here. Why is it important to go out and vote? Our Greek letter organizations have been at the forefront of the movement of voting rights and social justice and civil rights for forever, really. And so I've empowered our Greeks on campus at Norfolk State to go out there and use their voices to go out there and vote as well, and to get folks out there to vote and feel a sense of empowerment and give them a reason to go out there and vote.
Speaking of Greek life,
yes.
As a member of your fraternity, I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. You're a member of Phi Beta Sigma.
Yes.
Incorporated, Fraternity Incorporated. Tell us about how your experience in your fraternity has really helped to shape you as a young man.
Absolutely. Well, I model Culture for Service for Humanity. It truly has been a cornerstone for my leadership here at Norfolk State, but off campus as well. Really being of service to folks in the community, folks who have a voice and folks who don't have a voice. And it's all about empowering the voiceless, and giving folks who didn't even know that they had an opportunity to go out there and do certain things, and giving them a sense of empowerment. I will say this, since my sophomore year and me joining the best fraternity there is, I truly have had this sense of enrichment from my brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. We have some amazing members in our fraternity, even right here on our campus, but even our own rector here at Norfolk State University. Big rector, Yvonne Henry. He's a transformational leader, and everyone knows him to be so. And so it's folks like him and brothers like him who have really empowered me to go out there and just do more. Just do more.
Absolutely. That mentorship,
yeah,
that development, that's one thing that, I've seen the organizations do the sororities, fraternities, really helped to turn young women and young men,
Yes.
Into men,
Yes.
and women going out into the world doing great things. It just doesn't stop,
Yes.
on the campus, but it continues on as well. In our closing moments, I know this may be hard to do,
Yeah.
but it's for me. It's always hard to see students leave that you spend years with, but it's always good because that means that we're sending out, future leaders equipped to make an impact in the world itself. Sitting here, can you take a few moments to think about that class, that professor, or that one interaction that you had, that one experience that really changed your trajectory in what you're going to do?
Absolutely. I will say this. Coming to Norfolk State, I started off as a computer science major. And I quickly changed my major to political science. Again, I felt that sense of empowerment and uplifting my first semester here at Norfolk State. And it was a mentor by the name of Arquita Howard who showed me that I had a voice and that I needed to use it.
Yes.
And so she was the one who really shined the light on what was already there.
Yes.
And I'll never forget that. And she's truly been a mentor to me and a great asset to me. And I'll never forget it.
Absolutely. What's that one class that you remember?
I will definitely say Dr. Pretlow. Dr. Pretlow, my
Absolutely.
constitutional law class. I loved that class. We talked about actual issues that were happening day in and day out. We'll pull up the headlines. We'll listen to Supreme Court cases in the classroom. And it's professors like her who make all the difference, who we talk about real issues. And we have different opinions, but how can we meet in the middle? How can we meet in the middle? How can we compromise with one another to find where we can get to the end, right? And so Dr. Pretlow.
Absolutely. And then what's that one thing that you want to leave behind that you say, when they mention Jalen Jury,
Yes.
what is it, that one thing you want them to mention of you?
Is that I truly have a sense of wanting to do whatever I can to empower folks at whatever that is in life. I always say I want to do as much good to as many people as possible in any position that I'm in and wherever I am. And so I've tried to do that, and I hope that others have noticed that as well.
Absolutely. I like to tell all my students, pay it forward, pay it back.
Absolutely.
And that way you'll always give and you'll never forget, what your mission and purpose is here. Service is the rent that we pay for being here on this earth. You've been listening to Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. Our Community Impact Series, where we talked about one of the greatest institutions in the world that provides opportunities, where we see the future in each and every one of you, none other than the Norfolk State University, where we just graduated over 600 future leaders that will make an impact in this world. And I've had a great opportunity here to speak with one of our great leaders that is going to go out and do phenomenal things, none other than Mr. Jalen Jury. Mr. Jury, thank you so much for being with us. I know you're going to do great.
Yes.
I know this institution has equipped you, and we're looking forward to see the impact that you're going to have.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Claville.
Absolutely. Well, once again, you can hear us every Sunday at 10 a.m. on WNSB Hot 91, the Soul of VA. That does it for us. We'll see you again. Remember, this week, go out, be great, God bless, and we'll see you next Sunday.